I'll share my screen. So everyone can see that?
Yes, I can.
No worries. Welcome everyone. My name is Iman Ghaffari and I'm the Member Engagement and Development Manager at Smart Cities Council, Australia, New Zealand. And welcome to our Lessons in Data series. This is our last presentation for the year. And generally in these sort of presentations, we go through different projects and discuss data leadership and the data that was used, the value of the data, the processes, and also the lessons that we learned from it. Just a bit of housekeeping before we start. Please mute yourself if you're not talking, which I can see most people have. You can use the chat box for the Q&A session, or you can also just turn on your camera and ask a question. As you would have seen, this is recorded. I will stop the recording just before the Q&A, and this will be later uploaded to our YouTube channel as well. As I mentioned, this is our last session for our Lessons in Data series for the year. And we're also very excited to have Cities Week coming back next year in February in person. If you want any more information around that in terms of venue and topics and speakers, feel free to email me. I've put my email in the chat as well. There's quite a few new initiatives that we have starting as of January. So there's quite a few new task forces and new series of webinars that we have for members. So if there's any queries at all, just let me know. Today, the speaker is going to be Mohammed Afzal, who is the Director of Technology at IDT Solutions. And over to you, Mohammed. I'm just going to stop sharing so you can share your screen.
Thanks, Iman. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, let me share my screen. Just have this link. Okay, let me. I guess you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for joining, everyone. So as Iman says, today first about myself. I'm from IDT, Global IDT Solutions, our name we trade with. We are a global company in digital transformation. We specialize in city councils, mostly in the digital transformation space and also in the smart cities. We also exist at IDT Cities, which is coming as a SaaS solution very soon. So it's been given to me to about this presentation, which is thanks, Iman, for that. So as you can see the screen, that will cover in that presentation our experience, which is a recent experience in which we will demonstrate some data governance we have used, in which the data purpose, privacy is the data governance, and some value we generated out of the capture. We'll share that, and some processes as a framework we actually had to achieve that. So it's actually what I'm going to present is based on our real experience. It's something which we have done quite recently and very successfully, and it was a bit of a challenge in the councils which we have addressed. So in the next, okay, let's go next. Sorry, I'm going to go to the. All right, now. So the topic what I'm going to discuss is about the city councils, and people who are from any city councils here probably would relate to that there's a lot of data in the councils which is locked in shadow IT. So shadow IT, I'll explain it as we go further. So we have been faced challenges when we go for a digital transformation, especially when we looking for the customer data, which is now the councils are looking at, customer-centric approach. We find that is quite challenging, that the data is very scattered and a lot of data is locked in a shadow IT councils. And we have actually worked on that, and we'll share with you that what what the council's been doing about it, and how we have approached it to address it very successfully, and make this data as a kind of an asset instead of a problem. So I'll go to that. To start with, I'll share with you a typical technical architecture of a city council, which is, so these days, councils, if you saw that you use quite proprietary systems, which are specifically developed for councils like Civica, Authority, Technology One, and Infor. They were developed a few years, probably 2 decades ago, and the requirements, as we have seen now, the citizen requirements have changed so quickly that these systems are unable to cope a lot of the requirements with the customers now demanding, and the council's business is basically want to meet that. So technologies are showing a lot of challenge in terms of that. So that you can see, this is a typical architecture, and I would like, if you see what you see the most in this picture, I think the most you see here is a spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet is being used by the council staff and to do their daily work, and that is a shadow IT. That's the data which is actual council's data, which is when they are in a closed way, it works for them, and that is the challenge we face when we go into a digital transformation and want to expose this data out and get, say, for example, is a single customer view. If you want to actually give customer the ability to come and see, okay, what interaction this customer is doing with the council, now we have this in the backend. So there's a challenge which shows here that, just for you to look at, and see that all these spreadsheets are the shadow data, which is the shadow IT, which is running in the consoles. So this is I just define here for you the shadow IT refers any technology, hardware, software, or infrastructure that is used in organization holds and manage data. Mostly there's a customer and financial data, but is not administered by that council or organization IT department. So it's actually will sit on someone's PC, or a couple of people have created a database, really good database in spreadsheet, which has got a lot of capabilities, and they have extracted that data out from the ERP system, and that is actually being working for them. But now that data the system is unstructured data, does not exist in the in any application database, which is the relational and control database. And it poses a lot of challenge. Now, this is what happens with that. When the councils they know this is a problem for them. So what they have been doing is, they're actually attempts this unstructured data putting back into these applications. So example is, say, for example, in Authority or in Tech One, there's some tables, the data is there, or NAR data is there, name and address, and which is, the very customer facing, and the person in the council has to serve that customers. And the data which is locked there cannot do that manipulation. So what they do is extract that out into a spreadsheet, and then do a lot of work in that data, add some data, and then do their job and serve the customer. Now, what councils then started, they say, all right, we can put this data back into these applications. So they become structured. So with that, they come up with vendors, and they start creating registers in it. So the customizations that I mentioned here in the applications, that they would create some registers or tables to load that data in. So they go high customizations. And what it does when they do it, as you can see here, the diagram, I put arrows on these spreadsheets coming back into Authority, it creates very solid data silos that this data then they can do for specific purpose. They can do that, but this only does that. It actually impacts the other bigger picture, very negative impact on it. So that is what challenge we face when we go now into the council, which is running for the last 5 years. They've been doing 10 years. They're doing all that. They end up with all this data, which is in silos and everything. So the other challenge we face here is now when we look at the data, is the data access. Okay, so this is a customer. If the example I've given is when individual starts using a new tool to collaborate with teammates, customers, a faster way to get their job. So they have to do their job. The system does not meet that requirement, so they're doing their job in that. Council ERP system is slow or does not have the ability to manipulate the data, etc. So they export some tables from a segment to an MS Excel spreadsheet and open source, or now they have got ability to go to some open source SaaS also to the internet, and they're creating data over there more easily. They analyze that data and end up creating more associated data with it to do their job. So everyone is, and we have seen an issue there that the person has left the council, and after that they have a big gap, and that's they have issues with that what that person was doing, and the customers were getting that data, but no, they were not able to get that service. So this is also an issue we face, one of the challenge. The second challenge is another challenge is the integration. Data integration. Integration is because it's not managed by the console IT department. It's not integrated in the rest of the tech stack. It is a technology which is holding a data, but it is not in terms of if we define a technology stack, which is the console IT department looks after, it's not a part of that. So there is no integration of that software or data in the mainstream data of which is we classify as a console data. Then there is another issue about the data governance of this data. But that is what we are doing is we have now come up with what I'm going to show you that for these challenges, we have met this challenge in terms of meeting the data governance. So what we have actually gone in and our so councils these days, we've been to one council, second, third, talk about it, and then they are at this stage, they say, okay, come and guide us. How are you going to do it? Because it actually stops their digital transformation. We have got councils which want to do a single customer view or want to Salesforce or these kind of front ends, but they say, all right, they start that journey, and in the start they say, oh, let's get our data structure. So just bog down into all these processes which I described you before, that they start creating these silos and point-to-point integration and all this stuff, and they miss that window of the year. So they would say like July we're going to start, by December we finish this, and in the next half of the year we're going to start the project. They never, we have seen these practical cases, they never actually meet that. They always overdone that window, and the year goes, the next year start, and it actually a lot of councils are stuck in it. So they are saying to us, and what can you do? Guide us. So that's what we have this approach, which we have actually gone in and did the analysis. So what we make this data shadow IT as a part of a solution. We don't consider this as a problem. We consider it as a data. So and we have a process which I will show you how we achieve that we apply the data governance on this data in a way that I'll show you that it actually then data which is actually sitting in the shadows and they're doing their work, and people are happy doing their work. We consider that as a part of a solution. We say, all right, we will not going to waste time in order to fix this. We're going to start the digital transformation. I will show you how we're going to actually go leverage that, and we will fix that for you. So, and we know this is a shadow IT is a fact of life. We consider that now is the councils also, which we have worked with, and they are happy. It's a part of their life. They would not try to go. I mean, there'll be management coming in, but it actually has got some benefits which I will share with you. So now what I will actually go first and show you this, which is our framework. Now I'm going to describe that in some detail. So as you can see that there is you can see all this spaghetti kind of thing where all point-to-point integration and all this data which is in there. So we have a solution. We bring an integration platform, an enterprise integration platform, which can unlock this data. So we're using unlocking terminology that we connect to this data as they are. We bring that data into a layer, and where the data from an application and from the shadow IT can mix together. So it's unlocked, and it's in the forms on API, we can then process this data for the digital transformation. So there is no delay. So we are, say, for example, we have a single customer view, and we're using Salesforce for that. Salesforce requires a lot of API integration and all this. So we provide all the data, even the data which is coming from shadow IT is exposed to Salesforce and all the digital platform to digitize and provide a digital service to the customers, whereas the data behind is the same. So we have unlocking that data. We are saying to the console, you don't need to waste any time on it. We can start right now. We will leverage, we'll get your shadow IT in control also. So how we control here is through this. You can see here. So what we do here, when we have got an application data and the shadow IT data together here, we can then do the data governance processes here. So this blue line you see, that's where the data governance applies to this. And the security platform, when you see, when we extract that data, it passes through a security layer. So we put all the council's security policies, which they have got for the other infrastructure over here. So this data passes through it, and we cleanse this data. If there is a failure, we fix it, whatever we do it, and that helps them. So data is coming in here, it's passing the security, and it's getting unlocking, and it's available to mix in a processing layer, which we have got very advanced tools to manipulate that data and apply the rules, data governance rules here. So data, I go back again and say the data is shadow IT data is all unstructured. We have structured data. We pass that data through a security and integration platform. That data security gets applied to it. So this happens in this major step. When security is applied to it, when it reaches this blue line, that data is now available to the application data. We apply data governance on it. When we apply data governance on it, that data becomes fixed, and this black here, we put it back into if. And at that time, an improvement, we have seen the council people get excited. They come, okay, I would like this not to spreadsheet, but we would like to select a tool to do that. And then we can turn that person's spreadsheet into a tool, which becomes an IT asset, and that start happening. And it's basically does not impact any business process for them. It does not, they don't go into this cycle of fixing it where they are trying to fix this thing and they pass the design and upgrades have happened, and the application they integrated is point-to-point has upgraded, and the integration they did is no longer useful. So that challenge is what we actually have done with the data governance policy, and we have actually made a shadow IT data as an asset. And I will show you what we have actually, our lesson learned, and what we say that it is a, what is we have gained. And it has actually opened a lot of doors for the consoles, which we have actually currently very successfully deployed recently, a single customer view solution. They are now going, even they don't have any plans to change their backend, and they are investing all in their digital transformation and wasting no time. Whereas if you want to fix this thing in the backend, it can take years. And even if you're able to do it, in my opinion, it will be useless in terms of time, and the technology will be outdated by that time you reach there. So that is in that presentation, these are the processes, these are the data governance, how we applied, we shared with you that, and this is a digital transformation is happening. Now I go back to this one. What is the value our process has generated out of this inclusion of data, shadow data IT, what value it brings? what we have seen, which is very actually for me, it was quite exciting, and is that because that person who is working in council does that out of a need, he wants to go home at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. He does not want to be bogged down in getting this application and data, and he wants his customers to be happy too, because council is very customer facing, and very quickly the people react to the situation. So if there's an element of innovation that the person has improved the process by itself, he's taken the data out, and by doing that he has improved that process. So it's an element of innovation, and he's more productive. We have this established with our research and data that the person is more productive when they're doing through a shadow IT, and they're more happy to doing that. So yeah, second is more productive when allowed to use their preferred tools. So he wants to do things this way. If doing it, he should be able to use that tool, and that comes to that black box which I showed you, that even if it was using the spreadsheet, it can actually go and say that, okay, this tool helps me. So council can buy that tool. So it's more, I will show you in the next, there is a way fit for purpose. So there is a bottom up adoption of the shadow IT tools fit for purpose, which I just said, that what it does, that there is a challenge and there's a gap that the IT department goes out and buy a tool, okay, and get the requirements and give to the people. Then they say, oh, but I have seen people going on stress leave. That's also a case I've seen, that they have bought a new product and give it to people, and that half of the department is on a stress leave because they say it makes their life stressful using it. So this approach is that it's a fit for purpose, that the employee saying that fit my purpose, this tool, and is a bottom-up approach, and procurement happens and is also secure and become a part of a digital transformation. It actually gives a data-driven digital transformation, not a technology-driven. So it actually going to help the councils who are now stuck with the proprietary systems like authority and everything to have their solutions data-driven. So maybe after 1 year, they want to actually get rid of this. It won't impact their solution, because solution is data. Data will come out from authority or tech one and go to any other SaaS platform, fine. But the solution which we have, transformation we have done, is based on that data through that integration and security layer. So that doesn't change. So it gives them a lot more flexibility, that okay, they can go and fit for purpose technology they want. They don't have to worry about the impact that, okay, well, it's going to break this and break that. The other part is a very important data cleansing, especially work for the councils, people who are here who know councils data. The biggest pain point is NAM, which is called name and address register, where the citizens' data exists multiple times and councils are unable to identify a person, and in multiple systems, the same person exists with as multiple people, So, and within the family they have. So what opportunity it gives us, and very successfully we have done that in our current solution which we have and we're working on, that layer of integration and security, when it actually brings, we have the opportunity to cleanse that data to the data governance. So when it comes to the data governance, so in terms of NAR, we can remove duplications. So say, for example, we have got one person who exists 4 times in a system, we remove duplication and then merge that record into one. So merging. So sometimes in one record, person has got a right surname, the other one has got a right address, the third one has got a wrong address. So we identify through this data governance that this is a person, these are the 4 rows it's got, but then we pick up the right things and merge them into one row. So that is a very powerful thing for councils, and that opens them, they are able to a single customer who is the citizen. They can, so that data cleansing and merging. Effective and secure management of shadow IT. So as we say that they don't have to see shadow IT as an evil, it's a part of life. So we can provide through this, as I show you black box, how the data goes, passes into the security and integration layer, and then come back in, is an effective and secure management of shadow IT. Even the shadow IT turns into the tools. When it goes and when you come back with the right data, we talk with that person and say, you're using this spreadsheet and you do all these things. If we can put that data in that tool, which can do certain things, that person sets the tool, and that's where we have very effective management of the shadow IT. There is a very effective employee participation in digital transformation. One of the big challenges seen, and personally I have seen in many councils, that people have spent thousands and in sometimes millions in gathering the business requirements and BAs after BAs and functional requirements and everything, and they have actually missed employee participation. They have actually after that come back a solution, and next day the employees have rejected that solution. I've seen that. They said, no, it doesn't do what we have done. So they have gone, business requirements, develop everything, come back to them and say that no, we are not going to use it. So in this way, there is a very effective employee participation in digital transformation. We are doing an agile way. So every employee who is actually using the data is involved. There's no surprises. There's a continuous digital transformation in agile way, scale up. There's a less money council is spending, more productive, and their employees are productive. So that is what we are gaining in this value, big value. Accurate business requirements gathering. That's, as I mentioned before, because we are working so closely with the employees, we have taken assess their data. The requirements we gather from them are very accurate. So whatever the solution we bring in, it bring no surprises. That's the biggest thing we have seen. We have actually currently, it's live now, about 60,000 in 3 or 4 days. No, I would say Nicole is here probably. In 1 week, we have actually incorporated digital transformation on 60,000 plus citizens, and we have almost, I would say, 1 or 2% no issues. In that. The reason being because of the accurate business requirements we had. It was even the citizen has no surprises in that. So it also gives us a framework of processes of data-driven legal, data-driven digital transformation, and that's what is sorry, this one. So this one has got all the processes. I mean, I didn't have time to in half an hour. It's like every layer has got, multiple processes, sub-processes. When we actually do the unlocking data, it's got processes. When we do the data governance, it's got processes. When we do the merging, it's got processes. And when we come back, it's got processes. So this is where, I mean, we can share that. We share with the councils. Now we have got this, and we're trying to do other councils, and we have we've been approached by councils basically for certain processes which we have implemented to to help them with that. So what's the time? I think, yeah, it's probably that's the presentation I wanted to present and share with you about these data governance and our experience for 2022. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Great, thank you, Mohammed. Yeah, absolutely. If there's any questions, I'm just going to share my screen again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the floor is now open to everyone. So either feel free to put it in the chat or just turn on your camera and ask the question.
Hi, Mohammed. Thank you for the presentation. It's Marcus Crowley here. Very interested to see, I suppose, the complexity of the data sources that your council was using. I find